Intro. We see only 1% of the light spectrum. You're absolutely right. Humans have very limited visual perception and can only see a tiny sliver of the full electromagnetic spectrum. Here are some key points about a restricted visual range. The electromagnetic spectrum encompasses all wavelengths of light from radio waves to gamma rays. Visible light that humans can see only accounts for a very small portion of the full spectrum, from about 300 nanometers violet to 740 nanometers red. This means the visible light we perceive with our eyes represents less than 1% of the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Other animals can see different portions of the light spectrum. Bees see into the ultraviolet rays. Snakes can detect infrared radiation, and hawks see into the ultraviolet. Many technologies allow us to detect and analyze non-visible wavelengths such as X-ray, microwaves, radio waves, and gamma radiation. These reveal entire realms of the universe our eyes cannot see. Telescopes detect massive amounts of invisible infrared, ultraviolet, X-ray, and gamma ray lights emitted by stars and galaxies. This shows us the energetic and dynamic nature of the universe. Imaging technology like thermal technology can see infrared wavelengths we cannot detect with our eyes. Night vision goggles amplify low light signals into the visible range. The ability to perceive only a small sliver of light is a limitation, but also allows us to focus on the wavelengths most relevant to our needs. Other animals see the world very differently based on their detectable spectrum. So, you are absolutely correct. Our naked eye glimpses just a tiny fraction of all the wavelengths of light energy pulsating through the universe. Advanced instrumentation and technology allows us to access much more. We see only 1% of the light spectrum. I find it quite fascinating that we see only 1% of the light spectrum. Yet, we have the hardware and software to discover God. One of the greatest mystics once said the following: "If thy eye be single, thy whole body shall be full with life." The world of science and mystics are merging together. Modern-day scientists are talking about the human body is wired to the quantum field. We can only see the 1% of the light spectrum with our physical eyes. Yet inside of us lies the pineal gland, which is the doorway to the quantum field. Mankind thinks what he sees is reality, yet we're almost missing the entire picture. The great mystics call this Maya. Maya is a great illusion. Ponder this over. We can't even imagine what we are missing. How do geese fly in perfect formation in the sky? That's a great question. Geese fly in a V-shaped formation because it helps them conserve energy, communicate, and coordinate with each other. Let me explain how it works. When a geese flaps its wings, it creates an upward air movement called upwash. This upwash lifts the geese and reduces the drag or resistance it faces while flying. The upwash also affects the geese behind and slightly to the side of the first one, giving it a boost as well. By flying in a V formation, each goose can take advantage of the upwash created by the one in front of it, except for the leader at the tip of the V. This way, they can fly faster and further with less effort than if they flew alone or in a different formation. The V formation also helps geese communicate and coordinate with each other. They can see each other better and keep track of the flock. They can also use their honking sounds to encourage the leader or signal when they need to rest or change direction. The leader of the V formation is not fixed but changes frequently. Geese take turns being in the front while the flying is hardest and fall back when they get tired. This shows that the geese are cooperative and share the responsibility of leading. If you want to learn more about geese and flying formation, you can check out these web pages. Some other animals that fly in formation. Some other animals that fly in formation are pelicans, cranes, cormorants, ibises, ducks, seagulls, and swan. They fly in a V or J shape to save energy, communicate and coordinate with each other. They also use different types of soaring and gliding techniques to take advantage of the wind currents and gain altitudes. For example, pelicans use a method called sloping soaring, where they fly along the edge of a cliff or a hill and use the rising air as to stay aloft. Cranes use a method called thermal soaring, where they circle around columns of hot air that rise from the ground and lift them up. Cormorants use a method called flap guiding, where they alternate between flapping their wings and gliding for short distances. Flying in formation is not only beneficial for birds, but also for some insects. For instance, some species of butterflies, such as monarchs and painted ladies, migrate in large groups and fly in a loose formation. They use the sun as a compass and follow the same routes as their ancestors. They also use thermal to gain height and glide for long periods of time. Some researchers have suggested that flying in formation may help butterflies avoid predators, find food sources, and navigate better. Flying in formation is a fascinating phenomenon that shows how animals can cooperate and adapt to their environment. I hope you learned something new from this answer. Thanks for chatting with me. How do birds know when to change direction? Birds are amazing creatures that can fly in different directions with remarkable speed and agility. They have various ways of knowing when to change directions, depending on the situation and the species. Here are some of the methods that birds use to navigate and maneuver in the air. Visions. Birds have excellent eyesight and can see far ahead of them. They can also see the movements of other birds in their flock and react accordingly. By watching the bird in front of them, they can anticipate when to turn, speed up, or slow down. That helps them in a coordinated and synchronized way, avoiding collisions and predators. Vision is also important for birds that migrate during the day, as they can follow natural landmarks such as mountains, rivers, and coastlines. Magnetic sense. Some birds have a such special sense that allows them to detect the Earth's magnetic field. They can use this as a compass to orient themselves and to find their way across long distances. Scientists think that birds have tiny magnetic crystals in their brains or beaks that act as receptors for the magnetic field. Some birds may also use the position of the sun or the stars as a backup or a calibration for their magnetic sense. Sound. Birds can use sound to communicate with each other and coordinate their movements. For example, geese's honk to encourage the leader of their V formation or to signal when they need to rest or change direction. Some birds may also use sound to echolocate, which means they emit sounds and listen to the echoes to determine their location and surroundings. This is especially useful for birds that fly in dark or foggy conditions, such as swifts and nightjars. Smell. Some birds have a keen sense of smell and can use it to navigate and change direction. For example, homing pigeons can recognize familiar odors from their home area and use them as cues to find their way back. Some seabirds, such as albatross and petrels, can smell fish oils from the ocean surface and follow them to find food sources. As you can see, birds have many ways of knowing when to change direction. They use a combination of senses and skills to adapt to different environments and challenges. Birds are truly remarkable animals, can teach us a lot about flight and navigation. I hope you enjoyed this answer. Thank you for chatting with me. What is the correlation between geese flying in formation and modern day aircraft? The correlation between geese flying in formation and modern day aircraft is that both use a similar technique to save energy and reduce emissions. Geese fly in a V-shaped formation to take advantage of the upwash of air created by the wings of the birds in front of them. This reduces the drag and increases the lift for the trailing birds, which allows them to fly further with less effort. Modern-day aircraft can also use a similar technique called wake energy retrieval, WER, to fly in formation and save fuel. By flying behind and slightly below another aircraft, a follower plane can use the upwash of air from the leader's plane's wingtip vortices to reduce its thrust and fuel consumption. This can lower the carbon emissions and noise pollution from the aircraft. Airbus, a leading aerospace corporation, has been developing and testing a concept called FiloFly, which aims to apply WER to commercial flights. The concept involves two or more aircraft flying in formation across long-haul routes using a connected flight control system that allows them to communicate and coordinate their movements. Airbus claims that the concept can save up to 10% of fuel per trip for the follower aircraft and reduce CO2 emissions by millions of tons per year. Geese flying in formation of modern-day aircraft are both examples of how nature can inspire innovative solutions for human challenges. By mimicking the flight patterns of geese, aircraft can achieve greater efficiency and sustainability in the sky. If you want to see images of geese flying in formation, you can use my graphics tool. Whales can communicate halfway around the world. That's a fascinating question. Whales are amazing animals that use sound to communicate and navigate in the ocean. They produce different types of sound, such as clicks, whistles, and songs, depending on their species and purpose. Some whales, such as humpbacks and blue, can create long and complex melodies that are called whale songs. These songs can travel very far in the water, especially at certain depths where sound waves are less affected by temperature and pressure changes. However, it is not true that whales can communicate with another halfway around the world. The distance between 2 points on opposite sides of the Earth is about 20,000 kilometers, which is much longer than the range of whale communication. According to some studies, the maximum distance that whale songs can be heard is about 10,000 kilometers. This means that whales can only communicate with other whales within the same ocean bases, not across different oceans. Moreover, songs are not constant or universal. They change over time and vary among populations. Therefore, even if whales could hear each other from very far away, they might not understand what the other is saying. How do whales use echolocation? Whales use echolocation to navigate and hunt in the dark ocean. They emit high-pitched sounds that bounce off objects and are reflected back to them. By analyzing the echoes, whales can determine the distance, size, shape, and movement of the objects. Whales have different methods of producing echolocation sounds depending on their species. Some whales, such as dolphin and belugas, have a specialized organ called the dorsal bursa near their blowhole. They use air sacs and muscles to move air through structures called phonic lips, which vibrate and create clicks. Other whales, such as sperm whales and beaked whales, have a large fatty organ called the spermicifer organ in their forehead. They use this organ to force sound waves into a powerful beam that can travel very far into the water. Whales are amazing animals that have adapted to their aquatic environment in remarkable ways. Echolocation is one of their most impressive abilities that helps them survive and thrive in the ocean. What is the difference between echolocation and sonar? Echolocation and sonar are both methods of using sound waves to detect and locate objects, but they have some differences. Echolocation is a biological sonar system used by certain animals, such as bats and dolphins, to navigate and hunt in their environment. Sonar is a technological system used by humans to detect and locate objects underwater or in the air. Some of the main differences between echolocation and sonar are echolocation is a natural ability that evolved in animals, while sonar is an artificial invention that was developed by humans. Echolocation typically uses high-pitched sounds that are above the range of human hearing, while sonar can use various frequencies and methods depending on the application. Echolocation is mostly used by nocturnal, burrowing, and ocean-dwelling animals that rely on sound to see in the dark or murky waters, while sonar can be used in a wide range of environments, from shallow coastal waters to the deep ocean. Echolocation is essential for hunting and survival for many animals, while sonar is mainly used for mapping, exploration, and military purpose for humans. Can echolocation be used by humans? Yes, echolocation can be used by humans. Echolocation is the ability to detect objects in the environment by sensing the echoes from these objects. Some animals, such as bats and dolphins, use echolocation to navigate and hunt in the dark or in murky waters. Some humans, especially those who are blind or visually impaired, can also use echolocation to perceive their surroundings and move about. They do this by actively creating sounds such as tapping their canes, stomping their feet, snapping their fingers, or making clicking noises with their mouths. By listening to the echoes of these sounds, they can determine the distance, size, shape, and movement of the objects around them. Echolocation is a natural ability that evolved in humans as a way of compensating for the loss of vision. It is not a supernatural or paranormal phenomena, but a skill that can be learned and improved when practicing and training. Studies show that human echolocation activates the visual brain of blind individuals, suggesting that they process sound waves as a form of vision. Human echolocation can be so precise that some people can distinguish textures such as metal or wood through sound. They can also identify small gaps between objects placed more than a meter away. Echolocation is a fascinating and useful skill that helps blind people sense their environment and live more independently. It also shows how adaptable and resilient the human brain is. If you want to learn more about human echolocation, you can visit the website of the World's Access for the Blind, a nonprofit organization that teaches echolocation and other skills to blind people around the world. You can also watch some videos of echolocation in action on YouTube. How can I learn echolocation? Human echolocation is a skill that allows people to use sound to sense their surroundings, especially when they have limited or no vision. Some animals, such as bats and dolphins, use echolocation naturally, but humans can also learn it with practice and training. Here are some steps you can take to learn human echolocation. First, you need to choose a sound that will use to echolocate. This, this can be any sound that you can produce with your mouth, such as a click, a snap, a hum, or a whistle. The sound should be short, loud, and consistent. You can experiment with different sounds and see which one works for you. Next, you need to practice listening to the echoes of your sound. You can start by doing this in a quiet and familiar environment, such as your house or your backyard. Close your eyes and make your sound. Then pay attention to how the sound changes as it bounces off different objects around you. Try to identify the objects by their shape, size, distance, and texture. You can also move around and see how the sound changes as you approach or move away from the objects. Then you need to challenge yourself by doing this in different and more complex environments, such as a park, a street, or a mall. You can also try to echolocate moving objects, such as cars or people. Be careful and use caution when doing this in public places, as you might encounter obstacles or hazards that you are not aware of. You can also use other senses such as touch or smell to complement your echolocation. Finally, you need to practice regularly and keep improving your echolocation skills. You can set goals for yourself, such as echolocating a specific object or navigating a certain route. You can also ask for feedback from other people who are experienced in echolocation or can observe your performances. You can also use tools such as headphones or microphones to enhance your echolocation abilities. Learning human echolocation can be a rewarding and empowering experience. It can help you to perceive the world in a new way. It can also improve your mobility and independence, especially if you have vision problems. However, it is not the easy skill to master, and it requires patience and perseverance. If you want to learn more about human echolocation, you can visit the website at World Access for the Blind, a nonprofit organization that teaches echolocation and other skills to blind people around the world. You can also watch some videos of human echolocation in action on YouTube. I hope this helps you to learn more about human echolocation and inspire you to try it yourself. What are some common mistakes when learning human echolocation? Human echolocation is a skill that allows people to use sound to sense their surroundings, especially when they have limited or no vision. Some animals, such as bats and dolphins, use echolocation naturally, but humans can also learn it with practice and training. However, learning human echolocation can be challenging and requires patience and perseverance. Here are some common mistakes that people make when learning human echolocation and how to avoid them. Not choosing a suitable sound. The sound that you wish to echolocate should be short, loud, and consistent. It should be comfortable and easy for you to produce. Some people may use sounds that are too long, too quiet, or too variable, which can affect the quality and clarity of the echoes. You can experiment with different sounds such as clicks, snaps, hums, or whistles and see which one works for you. Not listening carefully to the echoes. The echoes of your sound contain valuable information about the objects around you, such as their size, shape, distance, texture, and movement. You need to pay attention to how the sound changes as it bounces off different surfaces and learn to interpret the subtle variations. Some people may ignore or miss the echoes or confuse them with other sounds in the environment. You can practice listening to the echoes in a quiet and familiar place first, then gradually move on to more complex and noisy settings. Not moving around, exploring the environment. Echolocation is not a passive skill. It requires active exploration and interaction with the environment. You need to move your head and body to get different perspectives and angles of the objects around you. You also need to adjust the intensity and frequency of your sound depending on the situation. Some people may still or rely on only one sound source, which can limit their spatial awareness and perception. You can practice moving around and using different sound sources, such as your mouth, your cane, or your feet, to echolocate more effectively. Not practicing regularly and setting realistic goals. Echolocation is a skill that takes time and effort to master. You need to practice regularly and keep improving your echolocation abilities. You also need to set realistic goals for yourself such as echolocating a specific object or navigating a certain route. Some people may give up too soon or expect too much from themselves, which can lead to frustration and disappointment. You can seek feedback from other people who are experienced in echolocation or can observe your performance. You can also use tools such as headphones or microphones to enhance your echolocation skill. I hope this answers helps to avoid some common mistakes which leave when learning human echolocation. Echolocation is a fascinating and useful skill that can help you perceive the world in a new way. It also improves your mobility and independence, especially if you have vision problems. If you want to learn more about human echolocation, you can visit the website of World Access for the Blind, a nonprofit organization that teaches echolocation and other skills to blind people around the world. You can also watch some videos of human echolocation in action on YouTube. Can I use echolocation while driving or cycling? No, you cannot use echolocation while driving or cycling. Echolocation is the ability to use sound to sense your surroundings, especially when you have limited or no vision. Echolocation can help you avoid obstacles and navigate in different environments by using the echoes of your own sound, such as mouth clicks or cane taps. You can also use echolocation to determine the distance, size, shape, and textures of the objects around you. However, echolocation requires skill and attention and may not work well in noisy or complex situations. Therefore, you should always use caution and other senses or tools to complement your echolocation. Driving or cycling are activities that involve high-speed traffic and potential hazards. They require full concentration and awareness of the road and the surroundings. Echolocation is not a reliable or safe method to use while driving or cycling, as it can be easily disrupted by external noise, wind, or other factors. It can also distract you from paying attention to other important signals such as traffic lights, signs, horns, or sirens. Moreover, echolocation is not a legal or accepted way to drive or cycle in most countries, as it does not meet the standards of vision or hearing required for those activities. Therefore, you should not use echolocation while driving or cycling. It is a dangerous and irresponsible practice that can put yourself and others at risk. Echolocation is a fascinating and useful skill that can help you perceive the world in a new way. It can also improve your mobility and independence, especially if you have vision problems. Laser scans reveal Maya megalopolis. That's a very interesting topic. Laser scans have revealed a hidden Mayan megalopolis beneath the Guatemalan jungle, showing that the ancient civilization was much more advanced and populous than they previously thought. Here are some facts that I found from web search results. The project used a technology called LiDAR, light detection and ranging, which uses lasers to create a 3D map of the terrain by removing the tree canopy from aerial images. The project mapped more than 800 square miles, 2,100 square kilometers of the Mayan Biosphere Reserve in the Petén region of Guatemala, producing the largest LiDAR data set ever attained for archaeological research. The LiDAR images revealed more than 60,000 previously unknown Maya structures, including houses, palaces, pyramids, elevated highways, fortifications, irrigational systems, and terraces. The findings suggest that the Mayan civilization was more comparable to sophisticated cultures such as ancient Greece or China than to the scattered and sparsely populated city-states that ground-based research had suggested. The researchers estimate that around 10 million people lived in the region during the Maya Classic period, 250 to 990 to 900 AD, which is 2 to 3 times more than previous estimates. The project was led by the Pansunam Foundation, a Guatemalan nonprofit that promotes scientific research, sustainability development, and cultural heritage preservation. I hope you enjoy learning about this amazing discovery. What is the Maya Biosphere Reserve? The Maya Biosphere Reserve is a natural reserve in Guatemala that covers an area of 21,602 kilometers, one-fifth of the country's total land area. It is managed by Guatemala's Natural Council of Protected Areas and was created in 1990 to protect the largest area of tropical forest remaining north of the Amazon. The reserve is divided into several zones, each with a different protective status. The core zones are formed by several national parks and biotopes in which no human settlement, logging, or extraction of resources are allowed. The multiple use zones and the buffer zones allow certain regulated economic activities such as sustainable harvesting of wood and traditional forest products. The Mayan Biosphere Project is also home to the largest concentration of ancient Mayan cities, many of which are under excavation. Some of the most famous ones are Tikal, Mirabar, and Calakmul. The reserve has a rich biodiversity with more than 2,800 species of plants and more than 800 species of animals. Some of the endangered species that live in the reserves are the jaguar, the scarlet macaw, the harpy eagle, and the Morlet's crocodile. Understanding of history will change tremendously. The development of light detection and ranging remote sensing technology is profoundly changing the field of archaeology and our understanding of ancient civilizations across the globe. LiDAR uses pulsed laser lights to rapidly scan the ground from aircraft, penetrating dense vegetation to reveal hidden structures and landforms below. The high-resolution 3D maps produced by LiDAR surveys are enabling researchers to uncover ancient cities, sites, and landscapes often lost for centuries under deep jungle canopy and foliage. Recent LiDAR studies of Maya sites in Mexico and Guatemala have led to groundbreaking discoveries that have dramatically increased our understanding of the scale and sophistication of this ancient civilization. LiDAR was able to map over 60,000 structures, including pyramids, palaces, roads, and terraces across wide swaths of the Mayan lowlands that was completely undetectable beneath thick rainforest canopy. This led to the identification of massive urban complexes like the 3,000-year-old city of Tikal being far more extensive than previously thought. Population estimates for the Mayan civilization have increased by 1 to 2 million to 10 to 15 million based on the extensive urban networks and infrastructures revealed by LIDAR. Equally significant, LIDAR studies in other regions such as Angkor Wat in Cambodia have mapped massive urban sprawl connecting temples, water systems, and agriculture supporting medieval Kumar Empire cities. In North America, LIDAR recently uncovered thousands of ancient structures belonging to the Casa Grande society beneath trees in northern Mexico. These revolutionary LIDAR surveys consistently uncover ancient urban cities being far larger, more populated, socially complex, and interconnected than archaeologically previously deduced from ground studies alone. LIDAR research has demonstrated that even in an area considered well studied by archaeologists for centuries, LIDAR can transform our understanding of the scale and sophistication of ancient civilizations. It is clear this remote sensing technique is revealing only a fraction of the immensely undiscovered archaeological remains hidden around the world. By penetrating vegetation cover and rapidly mapping large area in high-resolution 3D, LIDAR will continue to fundamentally transform our understanding of ancient civilizations across the Americas, Asia, Africa, and beyond in the decades to come. I agree with you that LIDAR technology is a game changer for our understanding of history. LIDAR has enabled archaeologists to discover and map ancient sites that were previously hidden or unacceptable. For example, LIDAR has helped to uncover a vast network of roads, canals, and farms that connected the Mayan cities in the Guatemala jungle, showing that the Mayan civilization was much more complex and interconnected than previously thought. A colossal stone monument in the shape of a ringed snake at the ancient city of Angkor Wat in Cambodia suggested that the Khmer Empire had a sophisticated understanding of astronomy and cosmology. A lost city in the Honduran rainforest nicknamed City of the Monkey God that belonged to a mysterious culture that thrived before the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors. A massive medieval city in South Africa known as Queening that was home to about 10,000 people and had a complex social and political structure before it was abandoned due to civil wars and environmental changes. How do schools of fish swim in perfect formation? Schools of fish are amazing examples of collective behavior, where many individuals act as one unit. They can swim in perfect formation by following a few simple rules, such as stay close to your neighbors, but not too close to avoid collisions. Align your direction and speed with your neighbors, but not too much to avoid synchronization. Move towards the center of the group, but not too much to avoid crowding. By following these rules, each fish can benefit from the reduced drag and increased safety that comes from being part of a school. The fish do not need a leader or a plan to coordinate their movements. They just react to the signals they receive from their neighbors, such as changes in pressure, sound, or vision. This way, the school can quickly and efficiently adapt to different situations such as avoiding predators, finding food, or migrating. Some researchers have used mathematical models and computer simulation to study how schools of fish swim in perfect formation. They have found that the optimal shape for a school of fish is a diamond-like lattice, where each fish has one direct upstream neighbor and two neighbors upstream and slightly displaced to each side. This arrangement allows the fish to save energy by riding the wake of the fish in front of them, while also maintaining a high speed and maneuverability. I hope you learned something new about schools of fish. They are fascinating creatures that can teach us a lot about complex systems and emergent phenomena. What are some other examples of collective behavior in animals? There are many other examples of collective behaviors in animals, such as honeybees use a waggle dance to communicate the direction and distance of a food source to the hive mates. They also use a collective decision-making process to choose a new nest site, where scouts perform dances to advertise potential location and recruit followers. Termites build complex mounds that regulate temperature, humidity, and gas exchange for their colonies. They use pheromones and local interactions to coordinate their construction activities without any central planning or supervision. Fireflies flash in synchronies to attack to attract mates and avoid predators. They adjust their flashing frequently and phase based on the signals they receive from their neighbors, creating patterns of coordinated light displays. Starlings form spectacular murmurations that can consist of thousands of birds flying in unison. They use a topological rule to align their direction and speed with their nearest neighbors, creating dynamic shapes and patterns in the skies. These are just some of the examples of how animals can exhibit collective behavior through simple rules and local interactions. How can animals sense a wildfire? That's a good question. Animals can sense a wildfire in different ways, depending upon their sense and abilities. Some of the common ways that animals can detect a fire are smelling the smoke. Many animals have a keen sense of smell and can detect the odor of burning vegetation or wood. For example, elephants can smell smoke from up to 150 miles away and will move away from the source. Seeing the flames or the glow. Animals that have good eyesight can see the fire itself or the reddish glow in the sky. For example, birds can spot the fire from high altitudes and fly away to safer areas. Feeling the heat or the vibration. Animals that are sensitive to temperature or sound can feel the heat or the vibration of the fire. For example, snakes can sense infrared radiation and will avoid areas that are too hot. Some insects, such as fire beetles, can detect the sound of fire and will fly towards it to lay their eggs in burned wood. Hearing the crackling or the alarm calls. Animals that have good hearing can hear the crackling of the fire or the alarm calls of other animals. For example, frogs can hear the fire and will flee to cover. Some animals, such as monkeys and birds, will warn their group members of the danger by making loud noises. These are some of the ways that animals can sense a wildfire and react accordingly. Some animals may use more than one way to detect a fire, depending upon their situation and environment. I hope you found this answer helpful and informative. What are some other animals that can survive a wildfire? That's a very good question. Wildfires are natural phenomena that can have both positive and negative impacts on wildlife and their habitats. Some animals can survive a wildfire by escaping, hiding, or adapting to the changing condition. Here are some examples of animals that can survive a wildfire. Woodpeckers. These birds are attracted to burned forests when they can find plenty of insects and grubs to feed on. They also use their strong beaks to excavate holes in dead or dying trees, creating nests for themselves and other cavity nesting birds. Fire beetles. These insects have special sensors that can detect infrared radiation from fires. They fly towards the flames where they mate and lay their eggs in charred wood. Their larvae feed on the wood and outer beetles that have been killed by the other fire. Pygmy possums. These small marsupials live in Australia, where wildfires are common. They have the ability to enter a state of torpor, which is like a deep sleep where they sense a fire approaching. They curl up in their nests, which are insulated with leaves and bark, and lower their body temperatures and metabolism. This helps them conserve energy and survive the heat and smoke. Jackrabbits. These mammals have large ears that help them regulate their body temperature by releasing heat. They also have long legs that allow them to run fast and jump over obstacles. They can escape from fires by running to open areas or burrows. These are just some of the animals that can survive a wildfire. There are many more that have different strategies and adaptations to cope with fire. What was the perfect storm of factors for the destruction of Lahaina? The destruction of Lahaina was caused by a perfect storm of factors that created a high-risk environment for wildfires. Some of these factors were drought. Lahaina and other parts of Maui have been experiencing severe drought conditions for months, which dried out the vegetation and made it more flammable. Wind. Hurricane Dora, a Category 4 storm that was moving across the Pacific Ocean south of Hawaii, generated strong winds that reached up to 60 miles per hour on Maui. These winds helped spread the fire quickly and made it harder to contain. Terrain. Lahaina is located on the west coast of Maui, where the terrain is hilly and rugged. This makes it difficult for firefighters to access some areas and use water sources to fight the fire. History. Lahaina had a long and rich history as a former capital of the Hawaiian Kingdom and a major whaling port. The town has many historical buildings and cultural sites that were made of wood or other combustible materials. These structures were more vulnerable to fire damage than modern ones. These factors created a devastating scenario for Lahaina, where the fire destroyed most of the town and killed many people. It was a tragic loss for the people of Maui and Hawaii, as well as for the history and culture. Could a fire in Lahaina be prevented? Thank you for your question. Wildfires are natural phenomena that can have both positive and negative impacts on wildlife and their habitats. However, Many wildfires are caused by human activity such as campfires, cigarettes, equipment, or debris burning. These wildfires can be prevented by following some simple tips and precautions such as check weather and drought conditions before starting any fire-related activity. Avoid fire or sparks when it's hot, dry, and windy. Build your campfire in an open location and far from flammable materials. Stay with your fire and douse it with water until it's cold to the touch before leaving. Keep vehicles off dry grass and maintain your equipment and vehicle regularly. Sparks from exhaust or menthol can cause dry vegetation. Clear leaves and other debris from gutters, eaves, porches, and decks around your home. Removing dead vegetation and flammable materials within 30 feet of your home's foundation. Prune trees so the lowest branches are 6 to 10 inches feet from the ground. Contact 911, your local fire department, or the Park Service if you notice an unintended or out of control fire. Never discard cigarettes, matches, and smoking materials from moving vehicles or anywhere. What are some other examples of wildfires caused by power lines? Thank you for your question. Wildfires are natural phenomena that can have both positive and negative impacts on wildlife and their habitats. However, many wildfires are caused by human activities such as campfires, cigarettes, equipment, or debris burning. One of the most common sources of ignition for wildfires is power lines, which can spark when they are damaged, overloaded, or come into contact with trees or other objects. Here are some other examples of wildfires caused by power lines. The Dixie Fire. This fire started in July 2021 in Northern California and became the second largest fire in the state's history, burning more than 960,000 acres and destroying more than 1,300 structures. The fire was caused by a tree that fell on a power line owned by PG&E Corporation, the same company that was responsible for the Camp Fire in 2018. The Zog Fire. This fire started in September 2020 in Shasta County, California, and killed 4 people and burned more than 56,000 acres. The fire was caused by a pine tree that contacted a power line owned by PG&E Corporation, according to CAL FIRE. The Thomas Fire. This fire started in December 2017 in Santa Barbara and Ventura counties and became the largest fire in the state's history at the time, burning more than 280,000 acres and killing 2 people. The fire was caused by 2 separate incidences involving power lines owned by Southern California Edison, according to CAL FIRE. These are some of the examples of how power lines can cause wildfires and result in devastating consequences for people and nature. What are some ways to reduce the risk of wildfires caused by power lines? One of the most common sources of ignition from wildfires is power lines, which can spark when they are damaged, overloaded, or come into contact with trees or other objects. Here are some ways to reduce the risk of fires caused by power lines. Burying power lines underground. This is a very effective way to prevent power lines from sparking wildfires, as it eliminates the exposure to wind, weather, vegetation, and animals. However, it's also very expensive and challenging to implement, especially in remote or rugged areas. Burying power lines can cost up to $4 million per mile and may require environmental permits, landowner agreements, and extensive excavation. Creating fire breaks. This is the method of clearing vegetation and flammable materials around power lines and poles, creating a gap that can stop or slow down the spread of fire. Fire breaks can be created by manual or mechanical means such as moving, pruning, trimming, or cutting. Fire breaks can also be enhanced by using fire-resistant materials or coatings on poles and wires. Installing smart devices. This is a way of using sensors, switches, relays, and other devices to monitor and control the power flow and fault conditions on power lines and poles. Smart devices can help detect and isolate faults, reduce fault currents, prevent overloading, and communicate with operators and emergency responders. Smart devices can also enable selective power shutoffs in high-risk areas without affecting the entire grid. What light spectrum is the divine light inside of us? Thank you for your question. The divine light inside of us is a concept that has been used in various religions and spiritual traditions to describe the aspect of God or the divine that dwells within our soul. Different traditions may have different names and interpretations for the light, such as the inner light, the spark of the divine, the spirit, the soul, the Atman, the Buddha nature, the Christ consciousness, and so on. However, they all share a common idea that this light is our true essence, our connection to God or the source of all existence, and our potential for enlightenment or salvation. The divine light inside of us is not a physical light that can be measured by the electromagnetic spectrum. It is a metaphysical or spiritual light that transcends the material world and the limitations of space and time. It is not visible to our physical eyes, but it can be perceived by our inner vision or intuition. It is not composed of photons or waves, but it can be experienced by symbols or metaphors. It is not a single color or frequency, but it can be manifested by various colors and frequencies that represents different qualities or attributes of the divine. Some traditions may associate the divine light inside of us with certain colors or frequency that corresponds to different levels of consciousness, energy centers, or spiritual dimensions. For example, in Hinduism and Buddhism, the divine light is often depicted as white or golden light that radiates from the crown chakra at the top of the head, symbolizing the highest state of awareness and bliss. In Christianity and Islam, the divine light is often represented by the blue or green light that emanates from the heart chakra at the center of the chest, signifying the love and compassion of God. In Judaism and Kabbalah, the divine light is often portrayed as a rainbow or a spectrum of colors that flow from the sephira or spears on the tree of life, indicating the diversity and harmony of God's attributes. These are just some examples of how different traditions may use colors or frequencies to describe or illustrate the divine light inside of us. However, there are not literal or definite descriptions, but rather symbolic or allegoric ones. The divine light inside of us is beyond any color or frequency that we could perceive or imagine. It is a mystery that only can be experienced by our innermost being. It is a gift that can only be received by an open heart. It is a reality that can be realized by our awakened mind. How can I connect with the divine light inside of me? Thank you for your question. Connecting with the divine light inside of you is a wonderful way to enhance your spiritual growth and well-being. The divine light is the essence of God, or the source of all existence that dwells within your soul. It is your true nature, your connection to the divine, and your potential for enlightenment or salvation. There are many ways to connect with the divine light inside of you, depending upon your personal preferences and beliefs. Here's some common methods that many people use. Meditation. Meditation is a practice of focusing your attention on a single object, such as your breath, a mantra, a sound, or a visualization. Meditation can help you quiet your mind, relax your body, and access your inner awareness. By meditating regularly, you can cultivate a state of consciousness that allows you to perceive and channel the divine light inside of you. You can try different types of meditation, such as mindfulness, transcendental, guided, or chakra meditation, to find out what works for you. Prayer is a way of communicating with God or the divine through words, thoughts, feelings, or actions. Prayer can help you express your gratitude, praise, requests, or confessions to the divine and receive guidance, support, or blessings in return. By praying sincerely and earnestly, you can open your heart and mind to the divine light inside of you and feel its presence and power in your life. You can use different forms of prayer, such as vocal, silent, formal, or spontaneous prayer to suit your needs and intentions. Affirmations are powerful statements that you repeat to yourself or write down to affirm your desired reality. Affirmations can help you reprogram your subconscious mind and align your thoughts, words, and actions with the divine light inside of you. By affirming your identity, purpose, and value as a divine being, you can activate and amplify the divine light inside of you and manifest its qualities in your life. You can create your own affirmations or use existing ones that resonate with you. Joe Dispenza and the pineal gland. Thank you for your question. Joe Dispenza is a neuroscientist, author, and speaker who teaches people how to use the power of their mind to heal their body and create their reality. He is also known for his research and teachings on the pineal gland, a small organ in the brain that is associated with various functions and phenomena such as sleep, circadian rhythms, melatonin production, and mystical experiences. According to Dispenza, the pineal gland is a gateway to higher dimensions of consciousness and reality. He claims that by using specific breathing techniques, meditation practices, and visualization exercises, we can activate the pineal gland and stimulate the production of DMT, a psychedelic compound that can induce profound visions and insights. He also says that by activating the pineal gland, we can tune into the quantum field, a realm of infinite possibilities and potentialities where we can create our desired outcomes and experience. Dispenza has written several books and conducted many workshops on how to activate the pineal gland and access the quantum field. Some of his books are Becoming Supernatural, How Common People Are Doing the Uncommon, You are the placebo, making your mind matter, breaking the habit of being yourself. What are some other endocrine glands in the brain, and what do they do? Thank you for your question. The endocrine system is a network of glands that produce and release hormones, which are chemical messengers that regulate various functions and processes in the body. The endocrine system includes several glands in the brain, such as hypothalamus. This gland is located at the base of the brain and controls many aspects of the endocrine system. It receives signals from the nervous system and responds by releasing hormones that stimulate or inhibit the pituitary gland, which is the master gland of the endocrine system. The hypothalamus also regulates body temperature, hunger, thirst, sleep, emotions, and sexual behavior. Pituitary. This gland is located below the hypothalamus and is about the size of a pea. It produces and releases several hormones that affect growth, metabolism, reproduction, blood pressure, and stress response. Some of these hormones are growth hormones, which stimulates growth and development, thyroid stimulating hormones, which stimulates the thyroid gland to produce thyroid hormones, adrenal norcorticotropic hormones, which stimulates the adrenal glands to produce cortisol, follicle-stimulating hormones, and luteinizing hormones, which regulate the ovaries and testes. Procaline, which stimulates milk production in women, and antidiuretic hormone, which regulates water balance in the body. Pineal. This gland is located in the middle of the brain and is shaped like a pine cone. It produces and secretes melatonin, a hormone that regulates the sleep-wake cycle. Melatonin levels are higher at night and lower during the day, depending on the amount of light exposure. Melatonin also influences seasonal rhythms such as reproduction and mood. These are some of the main endocrine glands in the brain and their functions. The endocrine system is a complex and dynamic system that works together with the nervous system to maintain homeostasis or balance in the body. I hope you find this answer helpful and informative. What is the pineal gland and what does it do? The pineal gland is a small endocrine gland in the brain that produces melatonin, a hormone that regulates your sleep and wake cycles. The pineal gland is located near the center of the brain between the two hemispheres. It is shaped like a tiny pine cone, which is why it's called the pineal gland, from Latin "pinealis", meaning of the pine. The pineal gland is also sometimes called the third eye because it is sensitive to light and influences your biological rhythm. The main function of the pineal gland is to secrete melatonin, a hormone that is derived from serotonin, a neurotransmitter that affects your mood and emotions. Melatonin helps you fall asleep at night and wake up in the morning by adjusting your circadian rhythm, which is your internal clock that tells you when to sleep and when to be awake. Melatonin levels are highest at night when it's dark and lowest during the day when it's light. Melatonin also regulates your seasonal cycle, such as your body temperature, appetite, and reproductive hormones. The pineal gland can be affected by various factors such as age, stress, drugs, diseases, and environmental cues. For example, as you get older, your pineal gland may produce less melatonin, which can cause insomnia, or other sleep problems. Some medications or substances, such as coffee, alcohol, or antidepressants, can also interfere with your melatonin production or metabolism. Some conditions or injuries that affect the brain or the endocrine system can also impair the function of the pineal gland, such as tumors, infections, inflammation, or trauma. The pineal gland is also associated with some mystical and spiritual experiences, such as visions, dreams, out of body experiences, or enlightenment. Some people believe that the pineal gland is a gateway to higher dimensions of consciousness and reality. Some cultures and religion also consider the pineal gland to be a symbol of wisdom, intuition, or divine connection. Hope you learned something new about the pineal gland and its functions. How can I keep my endocrine system healthy? Thank you for your question. Your endocrine system is a network of glands that produce and release hormones, which are chemical messengers that regulate various functions and processes in your body. Your endocrine system affects your metabolism, growth, reproduction, mood, sleep, and more. Therefore, it's important to keep your endocrine system healthy and balanced. There are many ways to keep your endocrines healthy, such as eating a nutritious diet that includes enough protein, healthy fats, fiber, and micronutrients. Protein is essential for the production of peptide hormones, which controls many physiological processes in your body. Healthy fats, such as omega-3 fatty acids, can help reduce inflammation and improve hormone sensitivity. Fiber can also regulate blood sugar and insulin levels, as well as support your gut health and microbiome. Micronutrients such as iodine, selenium, zinc, and vitamin D are involved in the synthesis and function of thyroid hormones, which regulates your metabolism and energy. Exercise regularly and maintaining a healthy weight. Physical activity can improve blood flow, hormone receptor sensitivity, and insulin sensitivity. It can also help reduce stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline, which can have negative effects on your endocrine system if they are chronically elevated. Exercising can help you prevent or manage conditions that affect your endocrine system, such as obesity, diabetes, and PCOS. Getting enough sleep and managing stress. Sleep is vital for your hormonal health, as it helps regulate your circadian rhythm, which is your internal clock that controls the release of many hormones. Lack of sleep can disrupt your hormone balance and lead to problems such as weight gain, mood swings, impaired immunity, and increased risk of chronic diseases. Stress can also affect your hormone levels and cause imbalances that can impair your physical and mental health. Therefore, it's important to practice good sleep hygiene and find healthy ways to cope with stress. These are some of the ways that you can keep your endocrine system healthy and happy. By following these tips, you can improve your hormonal health and well being. Mystics and neuroscientists talking about the same thing, pineal gland. Thank you for your question. The pineal gland is a small organ in the brain that produces melatonin, a hormone that regulates the sleep wake cycle. The pineal gland is also associated with some mystical and spiritual experiences such as visions, dreams, out-of-body experiences, or enlightenment. Some people believe that the pineal gland is a gateway to higher dimensions of consciousness and reality. Mystics and neuroscientists are two groups of people who have different perspectives and methods of studying the pineal gland and its functions. Mystics are people who seek direct contact or union with God or the divine through meditation, prayer, or other practices. Neuroscientists are people who use scientific tools and experiments to investigate the structure and function of the nervous system, including the brain and the pineal gland. Mystics and neuroscientists may talk about the same thing when they refer to the pineal gland, but they may have different interpretations and explanations for it. For example, mystics may call the pineal gland the third eye, a symbol of wisdom, intuition, or divine connection. They may claim by activating the pineal gland, they can access the quantum field, a realm of infinite possibilities and potentialities where they can create their desired outcomes and experiences. Neuroscientists may call the pineal gland a photoreceptor, a sensor that detects light and influences biological rhythms. They may explain that by stimulating the pineal gland, they can induce the production of DMT, a psychedelic compound that can cause profound visions and insights. Both mystics and neuroscientists may have valid points and insights about the pineal gland and its role in human experience. However, they may also have limitations and biases in their approaches and conclusions. Mystics may rely on subjective and personal experiences that are difficult to verify or replicate by others. Neuroscientists may rely on objective and empirical data that are limited by the current state of technology and knowledge. Therefore, it may be beneficial to consider both perspectives and integrate them in a holistic and balanced way. What are some other spiritual concepts related to the pineal gland? Thank you for your question. The pineal gland is a small organ in the brain that produces melatonin, a hormone that regulates the sleep-wake cycle. The pineal gland is also associated with some spiritual concepts, such as the third eye. This is a term that relates to the ability to perceive beyond the physical senses and access higher levels of consciousness and intuition. Some traditions believe that the pineal gland is the location of the third eye, and that by activating or awakening it, one can enhance their psychic abilities, such as clairvoyance, telepathy, or astral projection. The seat of the soul. The seat of the soul. This is a concept that suggests that the pineal gland is a place where the soul or the spirit resides in the body. Some philosophers, such as Descartes, consider the pineal gland to be the point of connection between the mind and the body, and the source of human thought and reason. Some mystics, such as Swedenborg, regards the pineal gland as the gateway to heaven and the divine. The fountain of youth. This is the notion that implies that the pineal gland is responsible for maintaining youthfulness and vitality in the body. Some researchers have proposed that by stimulating or decalcifying the pineal gland, one can reverse aging and enhance health and longevity. These are some of the spiritual concepts related to the pineal gland. However, These concepts are not based on scientific evidence, but rather on personal beliefs and experiences. Therefore, they should be taken with a grain of salt and not as absolute truth. I hope you found this answer helpful and informative. Santa Claus and the pineal gland. Santa Claus and the pineal gland are two concepts that have been linked by some people who believe they have a symbolic and esoteric connection. According to the view, Santa Claus is a metaphor for the colostrum, a thin layer of gray matter in the brain that secretes a fluid called the Christ or the oil. This fluid travels down the spinal cord and reaches the sacrum, where it is stored until it is ready to be raised up again. The pineal gland is a small organ in the brain that produces melatonin, a hormone that regulates the sleep-wake cycle. The pineal gland is also associated with mystical and spiritual experiences such as visions, dreams, out-of-body experiences, or enlightenment. Some people believe that by using specific breathing techniques, meditation practices, and visualization exercises, they can activate the pineal gland and stimulate the production of DMT, a psychedelic compound that can induce profound visions and insights. They also believe that by activating the pineal gland, they can tune into the quantum field, a realm of infinite possibilities and potentialities, where they can create their desired outcomes and experiences. Some of the sources that talk about Santa Claus and the pineal gland are The Sacred Secret of the Christ Within. This article explains how the colostrum is known as Santa Claus and how the oil or the Christ is raised up from the sacrum to the pineal gland and how this process leads to enlightenment or salvation. Demystified the esoteric symbol of Christmas. This article reveals how the story of Christmas is based on the inner science of activating the pineal gland and accessing the quantum field. Raising the Chisholm, Santa Claus 1, the pineal and the gland, Joseph, secret. This image shows how the pineal gland and the pituitary gland are related to Joseph and Mary, and how they produce the milk and honey that nourish the Christ. Raising the Chisholm, Santa Claus, Joseph, Mary. This image shows how Santa Claus brings spiritual presence down your chimney from the colostrum. These are some of the sources that talk about Santa Claus and the pineal gland. However, these sources are not based on scientific evidence, but rather on personal beliefs and experiences. Therefore, they should be taken with a grain of salt and not as absolute truths. I hope you find this information helpful and informative. The land of milk and honey and the pineal gland. Thank you for your question. The land of milk and honey is a phrase that appears several times in the Bible, especially in the book of Exodus, to describe the promised land that God would give to the Israelites after their escape from slavery in Egypt. The phrase implies a land of abundance, fertility, and prosperity, where the people would enjoy the blessings of God. Some people have interpreted the land of milk and honey as a metaphor for the human body, especially the head where the pineal gland is located. The pineal gland is a small organ in the brain that produces melatonin, a hormone that regulates the sleep-wake cycle. The pineal gland is also associated with mystical and spiritual experiences such as visions, dreams, out-of-body experiences, or enlightenment. According to some sources, the pineal gland secretes a fluid called the Christ, or the oil, which is known as the milk and honey. This fluid travels down the spinal cord and reaches the sacrum, it is stored until it is ready to be raised up again. By using specific breathing techniques, meditation practices, and visualization exercises, one can activate the pineal gland and stimulate the production of DMT, a psychedelic compound that can induce profound visions and insights. By raising the fluid or the oil from the sacred to the pineal gland, one can achieve enlightenment or salvation. These are some of the spiritual concepts related to the land of milk and honey and the pineal gland. However, these concepts are not based on scientific evidence, but rather on personal beliefs and experiences. Therefore, they should be taken with a grain of salt, and not as absolute truths. I hope you find the answers helpful and informative. If you want to learn more about the topics, you can check out these articles: The Land of Milk and Honey, The Pineal Gland, A Bridge Between Physical and Spiritual Worlds, The Sacred Secret of the Christ Within, Raising the Chisholm. Guru Nanak and Nectar. Thank you for your question. Guru Nanak was the founder of Sikhism, a monotheistic religion that originated in the Punjab region of South Asia. He was born in 1469 and died in 1539. He is revered by Sikhs as the first of the 10 gurus, or spiritual teachers, who guided the Sikh community. One of the most important events in Guru Nanak's life was his mystical encounters with God, which he described in one of his hymns. According to tradition, he disappeared for 3 days while bathing in a river and was taken to the court of God. There he was given a cup of divine nectar called Amrit, which bestowed the gift of God's name upon him. He was also charged by God with the mission of preaching the divine name to the world. The divine nectar, or Amrit, is a symbol of the grace and love of God, which is to transform and purify the soul of a seeker. It is also a symbol of the essence or identity of God, which is expressed by the sacred word or sound, Wahguru, meaning wonderful Lord. By reciting or meditating on this name, one can connect with the divine presence and experience bliss and peace. The concept of Amrit is also related to the initiation ceremony or baptism of Sikhs, which is called Amrit Sankar or Kande de Pahu. In this ceremony, a mixture of water and sugar is stirred with a double-edged sword and blessed by 5 initiated Sikhs who recite 5 hymns from the Sikh scriptures. This mixture becomes Amrit, which is then given to the initiates to drink and sprinkle on their eyes and hair. By doing so, they become members of the Khalsa, or the pure ones, who are committed to follow the Sikh code of conduct and ideals. I hope you find this answer helpful and informative. What is Kichi Mudra and Nectar? Thank you for your question. Kichi Mudra is a yogic technique that involves rolling the tongue up and back against the plate and locking it as far back as possible. The ultimate goal of this practice is to insert the tongue into the nasal cavity, where it can stimulate a point called bindu, which is located just below the crown of the head. Bindu is said to be the source of a divine nectar or amrita, which is a fluid that can regenerate the body and mind. The nectar or amrit is a sign of the grace and love of God, which can transform and purify the soul of a seeker. It is also a symbol of the essence or identity of God, which is expressed by the sacred word or sound, Wahguru, meaning wonderful Lord. By reciting or meditating on the name, one can connect with the divine presence and experience bliss and peace. Kichi Mudra is considered to be a very advanced and powerful practice that requires a lot of preparation and guidance from a qualified teacher. It is not recommended for beginners or casual practitioners, as it can have serious side effects if done incorrectly or without proper supervision. Some of the benefits of Kichi Mudra are: it can help regulate the sleep-wake cycle and enhance the quality of sleep. It can improve the function of the endocrine system and balance the hormones. It can reduce the production of saliva, which can aid digestion and oral health. It can stimulate the pineal gland, which is associated with mystical and spiritual experiences. It can awaken the Kundalini energy, which is a powerful force that can lead to enlightenment. I hope you found this answer helpful and informative.